for your trip planner group edition. This is in the Google Sheets version. Your coloring of your actual planner might look a little different. We have multiple versions, but all of the functionality and steps and information will be the same. In this tutorial, I will walk you through exactly how to utilize this planner, all of the automations and automatic calculations that are included inside of this workbook, as well as any tips and tricks. So starting with your first page, so the first tab, and you can see all of your tabs at the very bottom of your screen. Your first tab is going to be your trip overview. This is where we're going to start entering some basic trip information. Starting at the top, you can see there's a space for you to select your destination. There is a pre-programmed drop-down menu that has every country in the world. So you would simply select the country or countries that you are going to. So if I have Barbados, but if I'm also going to Belize, I would select them from the drop-down menu, and they'll populate there. Moving down this workbook, the next spot are going to be your travelers. And so this is where we're going to actually put in the people that are going with you, especially since this is a group trip. You will enter in the number of adults and the number of children, and then the total number of travelers will automatically calculate as a notice. All of the cells any cell that is highlighted in gray, so for example, this total number traveler or this to-do list that we'll get to in a minute, is an automatic calculation, meaning that the cell is protected, so you won't be able to edit it, but that means it's automatically updating based on the information that you are entering to your spreadsheet. So it will automatically add up the number of children and adults that you enter in these two cells, and will give you the total number of travelers. You are then able to add in actual travelers' names, and so you'll have a list of up to 10 travelers, and you can enter in each person's name over to the right-hand side. And I'll show you this drop-down menu as you enter names will convert into a drop-down menu later on inside of the workbook. So it's a good place for you to have everyone listed so you know exactly who is going. I'm going to come back up here to the dates. I apologize for jumping around, but the last thing that you're going to enter into this overview is going to be your dates. And so you will enter your trip start date. And so you will enter your trip start date, your trip end date. And from there, the duration will automatically calculate it. Again, it's highlighted in gray, meaning it is an automatic calculation, as well as the trip countdown will automatically be calculated. So it will automatically tell you how many days you have until you go based on your trip start date. The last piece of information that you enter into this overview will be a URL that you're able to enter in, and it will automatically generate or populate with the image of that image URL. So it can be from a Google Drive, it can be from a website, etc. It just has to be a JPEG, and I'll include some instructions inside of the PDF around how to format that, but you can import a photo so it can kind of make your little trip planner and overview nice and pretty. All of the other elements included on this overview are automatically calculated, and I'll walk you through these, and we'll also see kind of where the information pulls from as we go through this workbook. But starting with the to-do list, this will tell you all of the things that are to do and all the tasks that you have completed, and it will correspond to a to-do list tab that you see down here. But it will show you how many tasks that you have completed for all of the kind of benchmarks that you have in terms of 3 months out, 1 month out, 2 weeks before departure day, etc. And then this bar at the top will also automatically calculate and will show your progress towards overall task completion. Next is your itinerary overview. This will automatically populate based on your daily itinerary to show you everything that is planned for your itinerary. So it will show you the date, the day number, so day 1, etc., the actual date, the location that you put, as well as any links to the actual itinerary. You can also do a more granular daily lookup, and so you would select your dates from the drop-down menu, and this automatically populates. So you would select your dates from the drop-down menu, and this will automatically update based on what you put for your start and end date for your trip. So you can select your date, and it will show you where you are, what accommodations you're staying, as well as what you have planned for your itinerary. Lastly, we have a budgeting section just to keep you on track in terms of budget and expenses. It will show you your total budget, and this will all pull from your budget and expenses tab, but it'll show you your total budget, your total spend, and your total remaining, as well as a breakdown of your categories and budgeted versus actual versus remaining. So you can get an idea of how much of your budget has been spent and where your budget is being spent. Again, these boxes highlighted in gray are these boxes highlighted in gray are protected cells, meaning you will not edit these, and they will automatically populate and update as you enter information throughout your workbook. Moving to the destination overview, this is where you're able to pull in information specific for your destination that you're going to. So you can have all of this kind of pertinent information in one place. Starting with destination information, you can select your destination again from the drop-down menu. Then you'll move to destination information and be able to look at current currency rates. And so, for example, if I am looking at the euro, for example, I am able to see that my euro rate from euro to USD is 0.86. And then if I actually want to do some currency conversions, I can see how much would $50 be in euros would be $43, or 43 euros rather. So you're able to do some quick currency conversions. You're also able to select languages from the drop-down menu, as well as note what documentation is needed. So do you need a visa? Do you need vaccinations? And if you do, what is the status of those? So you're able to keep track of what actual physical documentation you might need for your destination. The next section, you are able to display and organize various attractions for your destinations. Again, you can add a URL and it will populate with an image, and you can add the address, operating hours, the price per person, the link, as well as a rating that you would like to give. And you can do this for a number of different top attractions. This is a great landing place if you're trying to help people get an overview of a destination. You are also able to add restaurants. And so especially restaurants information, including if you need a reservation. So again, a good way to organize your information and just present an overview of where you're going. Next is your research tab. This is where you will be able to collate and organize your research across a number of different aspects when it comes to your travel. And there are tables for destination. So if you want to research various destinations and then pick one. There's tables for destinations, flights, accommodations, transportation, activities, and restaurants. So really everything you will ever need for planning your group trip. Within each of these tables, you will enter information and it will be relevant to whatever that specific activity or item is. So destinations will have specific cells, flights will have specific cells. But what is consistent across them is that once you have selected a particular, say, destination or flight, you will check this little selected checkbox and it will turn that cell brown to indicate what you have selected. And that will automatically populate to a confirmation sheet. And I'll show you that in just a minute. But just to show you a little bit more around what you would include. So for example, for your flights, you include all of the departure information, arrival information, flight number, baggage allowances, as well as total costs. And these total costs will also start pulling in from other cells as well. Once you have finished all of your research, you can then go to your confirmations. Within your confirmations, it will show all of your selected items from the research tab. So once you select an item from the research tab, it will show up in the confirmations. And I'll show you just using the destination. So let's say I wanted to change my mind and I actually don't want to go to Dominican Republic. I want to go to Phuket. So I would go back to my destinations overview. I would uncheck DR and I would check Phuket. And now you can see that Phuket will now show up in my selected destinations. You are also able to keep track of the status of of whatever you book. So I can say it's been selected, I can say it's been booked, or I can say it's pending payment, and it will color code based on whatever you select. And again, all of this information is going to be protected since it's automatically pulling in from a research tab. And so if you need to edit this information, you would actually go back to your research tab so then it could automatically be pulled in correctly. Next, we're moving to your to-do list. This is where you can keep track of what you need to do across the duration of your trip planning. So on your left-hand side, you can see that there are multiple timeline benchmarks, 6 months before, 3 months before, etc. You are actually able to customize these. So if you want to do one that is a year out and change from there, you are completely able to do that. And that you can see how many tasks are associated with that particular timeline and the percentage of those tasks that have been completed. I'm going to move over to where you actually enter data. So over to your right, you will see that there are a number of these kind of blocks that have a particular time period. And these time periods are actually generated, a drop-down menu that is generated from whatever you put in this timing column. And so again, if I change it to, instead of 6 months before, I want 12 months before, I would change that here. And then now I have 12 months before my drop-down menu, and I can change that here. And all of the tasks will be associated with that. For each of the blocks, you'll select the timing. You'll select if this complete block is in progress, not started, or completed. And then you can list individual tasks per each time block. So if I need to apply for my visa, and you can assign a particular person, this drop-down menu generates based on the people that you put as travelers. So everyone that you have listed as a traveler on that trip overview sheet will also show up as a person in charge. So I can say I want Jordan in charge. And then if I mark it as complete, it will completely gray out and it will show up in all my other tables as it's been completed. But if not, it won't. You can also set a deadline, as well as this progress tracker will calculate the number of tasks that you have listed and the number that have been completed. And you can do this across all of these different blocks. I think we provide you 7 different blocks. To the left, you will be able to see, going back to the left, you're able to see the total number of tasks that you have assigned, the number that have been completed. You would see graphically or visually how close you are to progress or your progress, as well as the number of tasks that need to be completed by a person. So for example, if I change this, instead of to Jordan, I want it to be to Susan, you can see that Susan now has 1 task and Jordan doesn't have any. And if I check it off, I can see that Susan doesn't have any tasks, but she has completed that task. And I can also see that I now have 4 out of 13 tasks completed, and etc. Everything else is updated. So all of this information at the top will auto update, and it's a very easy way for you to see who has outstanding tasks and what needs to be done. Next up is our packing list. And so we can create individual packing lists for each person so they can keep track of whatever they need to pack, but also able to visually see how much each person has packed, their progress, as well as kind of overall group project progress and what needs to be ordered. So starting at the top, you can select the person that you want to put inside of the cell. Again, this is generated from your drop-down menu based on the travelers that you added. So you select the person, and you also, and then it will automatically pull in the number of things they have listed on their packing list, the number of things they have completed for their packing list, and their progress. Similar to the to-do list, it's set up in a similar way where you would select the person from the drop-down menu, and then you can put in each item that they want to pack. And then they also are able to update the status. And once the status is updated to packed, it is marked as complete. For each person, there will also be a chart at the top so you can see how many are packed, how many you need to order, and how many things you need to return. So for example, if I want to mark my Get vaccine as packed, again, it will update to 3. And you can do this across, there are 10 different blocks, and you can do this for each person that you've listed in your traveler list. Again, this chart, similar to the to-do list, will update based on the total number of items that are packed across everyone, and the total number of items that have been listed as needing to be packed. And will show your progress, as well as showing if there are things that need to be purchased across the group. It will show you who needs to purchase what, who needs to return what, etc. Moving to next up is your daily itinerary. This is where you are able to actually put your itinerary in for each day. The day number and the actual date will automatically populate based on whatever you put inside of your trip start and end date. From there, you will put the location, so Napa Valley, California, for example. You will also pull in the accommodation, and the accommodations will automatically pull from your confirmations. So any accommodation you mark as selected will appear in this drop-down menu, and it will pull in that, and then it will automatically pull in that accommodation's address, the check-in and check-out time. You can add the confirmation number, as well as any notes that you may have. You can also pull in specific activity confirmations. These will pull from any of your selected activities. And so it will pull in all of that activities, again, address, activity time, activity type, website, the confirmation number, and any notes that you have included inside of that tab. From there, you're able to actually provide a daily schedule, and you can see this looks very similar to what is in the trip overview. The trip overview pulls this information automatically in based on what you put inside of this tab. And so you're able to say breakfast in the morning, then you're going to go on a morning hike, etc., etc. And you can do as much or as little of a breakdown as you want, as well as to generate notes. We'll need hiking shoes, and a change of clothes. And so, and so that will help you keep everyone organized, and everyone can go to this daily itinerary and see exactly what you are doing for each day. And there will be a block for you to do this for each of the days for your trip. So you can see that there are, I think, a total of 30 options or 30 days. Okay. And then the last two tabs are related to budget and expenses. Starting with budget and expenses. This will help you keep track of your budget as well as who is paying for what. At the top, we have another currency conversion. So you are able to, if you're working in a different currency, able to easily put in the foreign currency, put in what you want to convert to, usually USD, and it will do your conversion. So for example, 34 euros will convert to about $39. And you can do this across any currency. Scrolling down, we then have a budget overview. Here you're able to put in categories of your budget. We provided you with some initial ones that are common across different trips, but you're welcome to add more. And you can put in what is budgeted for each trip. So what is your total budget for that particular category? A total budget amount will then generate at the bottom, and that's also what's pulled into your trip overview on that dashboard we saw. And then the remaining tabs of actual, remaining, percentage, and to be paid will actually pull in from this expense tracking that is tracking your expenses, and I'll show you in a minute. But the last section around on this side is payment methods. You are also able to indicate which type of payment methods, and this will populate a drop-down menu inside of your expense tracking. Moving to this table in the middle, your actual expense tracking. This is where you'll enter in a bulk of your data. This is where you will actually enter in payments and expenses. So for example, you're entering, if I pay something on the 1st of March and I paid $300, I'm able to select which currency. So if I'm working in a currency that is not USD, I can select that currency and whatever I paid in that currency, and it would automatically populate or update to USD. So let's say I paid $300 in euros. So I really paid about $347 in USD. This is for an activity, and I can put the activity, it is a cooking class. Cooking class. I can put the payment method. Again, this populates based on those payment methods you put inside of that table. So I can say my, and then I can indicate who paid for this actual expense. Again, this populates based on what you put in from the travelers from that trip overview. And so I can say that Susan is going to pay for this. Once Susan has actually paid for this, we'll mark it as paid, and all of our charts will update. You can just see that. So you can see that I now have a $300 activity expense cooking class that Susan has paid for. If we go back over to this budget overview, this is now reflected inside of my actual. So I actually have two activities that are doing, which is $147 and $78, which you can see is reflected here. It tells me how much I have remaining. So I originally budget $1,500, so I have about $650. If what I have remaining is more than zero, the cell will be green, indicating that I am not in deficit. If it is less than zero, it will turn to red, indicating that I have spent more than what I had budgeted. It will tell me what percentage this category is making up of the entire budget. So the activities are taking up about 17% of my budget. And then if I had actually not marked this as paid, so Susan is going to pay it, but she hasn't paid it, it will then show up in my paid tab instead of my actual, showing that it's still being allocated, but it still has to be paid. Just a few last things for budget and expenses. All of these particular numbers and figures at the top will automatically update based on what you put into your total budget, what you have actually spent, and what needs to be paid. So you can see these numbers are the same as what's going to be at the bottom of this table, which is just doing summing everything, all the categories. You'll also be able to see a breakdown of all of your expenses. So I can see that activities, let me make this as paid. Activities now take up 17% of my total budget. Accommodations take up about 50%, and flight is about 35%. I can also see what I budgeted versus what I spent. So I can see that for my flight, I budgeted and I spent a bit less. But for my accommodations, I budgeted about $1,000, but I spent about $2,300. So you're able to see kind of very quickly, what did I budget for and what did I actually expend? My last tab is our expenses distribution. This is particularly relevant for group trips in that multiple people are paying for multiple different things, and we have to figure out how do we then reimburse everyone. So this is going to help you do this in a very clear way. I'm going to start at the bottom, and then I'm going to come back up to this splitting expenses table. So you will see that we now have our expenses tracking sheet. It has automatically pulled in for our budgeting and expenses sheet. So everything that is in that budgeting expenses is now here. So I can see that now, like my activities are here. So I can see that now that $300 activity cooking class is also now here. And it's marked as paid. So everything marked in gray is automatically pulling in. You won't have to do anything with. What you can then do, once you have an expense, you can determine on how you want to split. So do I want to split by a percentage or an amount? So if I want to split by an amount, and say Jordan, Catherine, and Sarah are all going to participate in this. So they each need to pay $100 towards this activity. And it's $300 total. I can then see what each person who is listed as a traveler now owes for that particular line item. And I would do that across all of the different items. So let's say Catherine paid for a $500 activity. She wants to split by 20%. So Jordan pays 20%. Omi pays 20%, and Sarah pays 20%. Sarah has to pay a lot. Sarah did not pay anything. It will now tell me that, okay, so Jordan, Omi, and Sarah will pay $100, which is 20% of $500. Based on what you do for the splits and for the amount owed, this expenses splitting expenses will now auto-populate. On the top, we have who is getting paid. So these are the people that are actually paying, and then who you are actually getting paid, rather. And then on the left-hand side, we have who is paying. So who is giving money to who. And based on what you put inside of your split, you can see that Jordan needs to give $200 to Susan and $400 to Catherine. That's because she also has some additional things. And so it would automatically correlate how much money does Jordan owe Susan? Then how much money does Jordan owe Catherine? Then how much money does Jordan owe me? And we're able to very quickly see. And so if I'm a person that's trying to look at who I owe, I can go to my name, Sarah, and I can see, okay, I need to send Susan $100 and I need to send Catherine $100. And that's it. On the right-hand side, we can also see just generally who is getting paid and who is paying. So I can see that Jordan paid nothing to go on this trip or for the expenses, but she'll be paying $500. So it's very easy for me, if I'm Jordan, to see, okay, I need to budget $500 to pay people across things. And I can see that Catherine paid $1,000 and she is but still needs to pay $100. The charts at the top will show you who paid for things. So it's a breakdown of who paid, as well as who paid what and what they will be paying. So a visual breakdown of this chart right here. So you're able to very quickly and hopefully very easily go through, especially as you do expenses, where I just have a meal and I can say that Jordan needs to pay. Jordan's portion of that was $40. Catherine was $40 and Luke was $20. Again, it shows me all of those here. And now I owe Susan $140 instead of the $100 that I owed before. So that is your group planner. Coming back to the trip overview, because I know we just went through a lot, so I just want to come back to the trip overview to show you where all that information that you just inputted ends up now. Now I can see that my tasks are updating here, where I'm deciding to go, and the location will update, and again in this itinerary overview. Again, I can see my morning hike is there, my breakfast is there based on April 1st, and I can continue to do that if I want a particular date, as well as my budget overview. I can now see that I've spent $847 for my activities, and my total spend has gone up. I'm now reflected inside of the charts. I hope this was really helpful in terms of helping you navigate this workbook. One other thing I want to note, as I said earlier, there are a number of protected cells and sheets within this workbook. Again, they are indicated in gray to hopefully make it easy for you to see and know that you're not going to edit those. If you do try to edit one of those cells, you will get this pop-up menu that says you're trying to edit a part of the sheet that shouldn't be edited or changed accidentally. Edit anyway. We recommend that you press cancel. Otherwise, you risk changing some of the calculations or automations that are built into the workbook that allow it to function and auto-calculate and auto-populate and things like that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We are more than happy to help, and we hope you have fun planning your trip.